Hey friends, Jeff Fritz here, and I've got another 10-minute tip for you. This is actually a follow-up from the last one that we had where I was talking about Gulp, NPM, and Bower in ASP.NET Core. I got some feedback right away after I posted the video, and I'm happy to see people reading up on it. I got two comments, and I'm going to bring them up here on Twitter. One from Thomas Stringer, you see here on the left. Out of curiosity, any reason why you used Bower instead of NPM to get jQuery or any of the other front-end libraries? We can do that. And then Shane wrote, you can kick off and do multiple scripts with NPM, like build, gulp, CSS min, and then run npm run build to execute that command. We can do that too. So in today's tip, we're going to see how we can slim down our resources here a little bit, focus more on NPM, and take advantage of those tools in a slightly different way. Let's take a look. Back over to Visual Studio. And this is where I left my files here. I have Bower JSON on the left here and my gulp file on the right. Now, if we take a look at Shane's recommendation first, I can add to the end of my package JSON file a scripts element, and these are scripts that we can tell npm to run actually for different events during the install package management process. So there's all these different times and events that occur in our management of packages with npm that I can wire up to, and that's pretty cool. But Shane recommends we do something like build, and then we can right here say gulp min, and before we run gulp min, we can actually say gulp clean, and it'll run both of those tasks. And by using the double ampersand there, it's actually going to run one and then the other. So let me save that and bring up a console window and see what that looks like. So here's my console window, and now I can just run npm run build, and you see it calls clean, and then it calls min, and it's done. I get the cool colorful effects there, and that's great. That's the way that I would expect it to be run if I wasn't in Visual Studio. But I am in Visual Studio, and the Task Runner Explorer doesn't have an npm script runner by default. Check this out. The folks at Microsoft who wrote the Task Runner Explorer built an add-on for it so that you can run npm tasks. So go over to your extensions and updates and look for the npm task runner, and I'm going to put the link in the notes below. And you can hook this up to your Task Runner Explorer. And now, when I open Task Runner, I get my package JSON file here. And I can right click and say run right here, and it does the same thing. So now I've got that parity once again where I've got it executing both in Visual Studio and at the command line. But now let's go back to Thomas's question where he said you can get these things and skip Bower altogether. Well, let me take the names of those packages that I have here in Bower. Let's bring them into npm and package JSON. In fact, I'm just going to copy these directly, because the package names are actually the same. Now when I save that, here we go over here on the right, dependencies are restoring for npm. And I've got a lot of them there. But you can see it's all done restoring, and I've got npm modules. But if I'm not going to have Bower run and deliver these things, right? My Bower JSON file, my Bower RC, says that it's delivering to www root. So if this isn't here anymore, right? Let me just rename this so it goes away. And it doesn't actually try and do anything. Now I can take that lib folder. Let's get rid of that, because that's something that Bower built for us. Now I don't have my lib folder. I've got my package JSON file out here. It's going and fetching these things, but they come down inside of node modules. And there's a lot in there. I don't want to move my entire node modules folder into my dub root and publish that. So how can I do this a little bit easier? Fortunately, there is a way here that we can write our own script using Node and then include that in the package here. Use that to help deploy some of these things. So I'm going to grab a couple other packages here. Let me throw into the mix. There's a package called copy. Sure, I'll grab that version. I also want to make folders. So I'm going to grab mkdrp. So that'll allow me to make directories and specify the entire path to it. And it'll also allow me to do that in a way that's cross-platform compatible. That's kind of handy when I'm doing things for the web. So with those two references now, it's going and restoring all my data. I put together a JavaScript file that I sat here at the root of my project called deploy.js. So let's take a quick look at this. I'm not going to bore you with watching me type it. But right up top, I'm going to require copy that rimraf that we had before over here in Gulp to clear up files. And then mkdrp, right? Bring those three in. The paths that I'm going to work with, I want to work with dub root lib. That's where I want things to land. And then my node modules folder is where I'm starting. My 5 libraries that I'm working with, I'm defining here in this lib object so that I can grab them easily. Let me slide this over so we can see it all. And you can see there's a couple tricky things that we need to do here to get jQuery validation and the unobtrusive stuff. And then I wrote this real quick little script here that calls rimraf and then passes in a callback function when it's done removing the contents of that lib folder. And then for each element inside of here, inside of my lib object, it's going to grab that key and then put together the name of the folder that we're going to be pulling things out of. So it's going to go to node modules / bootstrap. It's going to make that folder and then copy the contents of this item, the value of that, into the name of the folder that we just constructed up here. Pretty simple, but all I'm doing is just moving things around here. And when I have new libraries that I want to add in, I can add it to the end of this lib chain here, and this same rimraf function will do the same thing. It'll clear up and add my new libraries in and move just the things that I need, just the dist items that I need into my library folder, my lib folder. So let's take this deploy script and let me wire that up to package.json. So let's, you know what? No, let's not put it at the end there. After we do gulp clean, then let's say node deploy. So I'm going to use the node executable to call the deploy script, and then I'm going to minify the rest of my content. So now I can go back over to my Task Runner Explorer. There it is, Task Runner Explorer. Let me clear this. And now I'll run the build script again. Cleaned, copied my files, minned. Now if I open Solution Explorer, so now I've got a lib folder, and all of my content that I needed before is still there. Cool. But really, I'd like that node deploy to happen after every time I do an update, right? Because if I get new versions of some of these libraries, the Bootstrap, the jQuery stuff, I want to get new versions at that time. So let me yank this from here. And let's say post install node deploy. And actually, we probably want to do the same thing when we uninstall so that it cleans up. There we go, post uninstall node deploy. So anytime that I go and make changes to this folder, to this file, it's going to do an npm restore and then rebuild this content for me. Cool. That's great. That's exactly what I want. I can update and get those files into play when I need them. So look, I covered a little bit here back and forth. I answered both Thomas and Shane's questions here because we're now using Gulp directly from this build script inside of NPM. I'm not using Bower anymore, and I'm moving things around with some other scripts here that I wrote to take advantage of the Node toolset a little bit more. I'm scripting with JavaScript, so it's cross-platform, and that's pretty cool. There's links below to get you to the NPM Task Runner Visual Studio extension, and I'm also going to put a link below to my GitHub repository where I laid down that deploy.js file. I'm also going to put my package.json and Gulp file.js there, so if you want to take a look, those are all there. Thanks for watching. I'll have another 10-minute tip for you later this week.